And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Discover Ignite Possibility series, where we like to provide you guys perspective to show you what is possible. And I have a special guest today who I'm actually really excited to bring on the channel to provide you guys some exposure on the changes he's igniting into his life, tell his story and what he's doing in his life to ignite that change. So, being said, I'd like to introduce everybody to Antonio Zepeda. And Antonio, my
Hi,
question to
everyone.
you is, who is Antonio Zepeda?
Hi, everyone. So me, oh boy, I'm a lot of different things. I have a very eclectic personality. I'm into so many different things. I've lived so many different lives before, chased so many different dreams. I'm staying in the present moment right now. Who I am is a traveling artist. My girlfriend and I, we started this adventure, and we're starting to when we have a separate little Instagram account, and we also have an art page of our shared artwork, and we call ourselves the Roaming Pisces. So basically, what I'm doing now is just creating art, traveling, and basically chasing my dreams and goals, and I like to see myself as a man who follows his intuition, a man who follows his heart, a man who goes after his dreams, his goals, his heart-based desires, and it, that's that's what I see myself as right now, for sure. Just chasing after my goals, chasing after my dreams, and just being fearless in the process, and living, living through my heart as much as I can.
Yeah, definitely. Just going through your Instagram feed, I could see that you live essentially guided by your intuition, and that's something I've always found. If the more you actually hone in on that, right, I think you make changes that you really, like you said, desired in your life, and I think that's really living life to the fullest. Now, with that being said, there's a particular Instagram video that you posted about your father that essentially, I think, from what you said in that video, that it essentially ignited the change to want you to make change into your life. Perhaps you can share that story with everybody.
So yeah. Um, so that video, I posted that on Father's Day, and Father's Day was always kind of a rough day for me. I grew up without a father. He wasn't present in my life. The last time I saw him was actually when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and um, my mom's boyfriend at the time, they got into a little bit of a fight, and the last memory I have of him is him holding his face, him and I making eye contact, and then him running off, and I didn't see him for almost 30 years. I had no idea where he went to. No one in my family knew. That people were like, oh, he moved, or people, even my grandmother, even my mother thought maybe he died. And so whenever Father's Day kind of came around, I was just kind of like, oh boy, like, great, like, what's the, like, I was kind of like, it was always kind of a rough day for me. So yeah, that came with its own sets of problems, and it also came with its own set of good things too, I guess. Without getting too much into detail of it, one can imagine the challenges, and maybe even some of the blessings that it comes without experiencing a father figure in life. And I guess blessings would be a little bit of a hard thing to kind of imagine what that would be. And I see life as a series. Life is a series of events, and the good things make us who we are today, and also the bad things. And so if I didn't grow up without a father, maybe I wouldn't have dived deep into art or into all the other things that we'll talk about shortly in my life. So um, fast forward almost 30 years later, and it was Father's Day of 2016 again. I was feeling all the feelings. And I decided then that would be the day that I would stop drinking. Without getting too much into that right now, because I'm trying to stay focused on the question. Um, so basically, that's a little bit of a backstory of how much Father's Day was for how much, kind of an effect Father's Day was for me.
Now, you found essentially art to be your outlet through this whole transition.
Yeah, pretty much. So art and right now, service-based, kind of like spirituality of sharing my journey and for sure sharing art. Right now I'm on a path of kind of like illustrating my life. Right now, uh, I'm working on like custom coloring books for people to help illustrate their lives, and I'm also illustrating kind of like my girlfriend's life. Like I created like a fun little cactus avatar of her, and so I'm turning that into a coloring book of some sorts, or hopefully a children's book if I come up with a good story. I'm more so yeah. That's I'm using art to kind of just because art was always kind of like that outlet for me growing up. It was always kind of the thing I jumped to and dived into when I was just bored, or I don't know, just feeling like some sort of like anger or frustration or whatever. It was just kind of just my outlet. And I started when I was really young, and I always felt like I had a knack for it. I remember the very first drawing I ever made. Well, I was like in kindergarten or something like that, and there was some art contest with the students, and uh, the winner of the art contest would get like a free ticket to some aerospace museum, and all we had to do was just draw a helicopter, and my helicopter looked the coolest, and I was just like, and I was just like, okay, so that kind of like this the point when I realized like, hey, like I got some talent here, and I was just like, in like preschool or something, and so I guess that was kind of like the spark for me. And whenever I'd have a spare moment in school, I'd always be drawing too, throughout elementary school and middle school and high school. High school, I really started drawing a whole lot. I think it was really just not really present, or didn't really like high school. So like in the back, I was like kind of a quiet kid in the back who would always just be drawing, and I draw like really elaborate like illustrations on like my book covers, which actually I just shared recently on my Instagram too. And so that was definitely a big outlet for me for sure during my like early years of life.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of your work, and it's actually fantastic. I mean,
Thanks.
I myself wanted to be do comic books when I was younger. So to see that, to see where you're at is amazing. I mean, I've always loved art, and you definitely have the touch, that's for sure. Um,
Thanks.
but that being said, so living in the moment, you said you are also you have a service based thing where you do spirituality and stuff as well.
Yeah, um so I've always felt like I've been on a spiritual journey my whole life. Especially out of high school when life started getting really difficult, and it forced me to really kind of like dive deep and just wonder like what the meaning of all of it was, especially when I'm pursuing, dreams that necessarily aren't part of like the normal status quo. Um, like I had normal jobs for like the past like for over 10 years, working at like movie theaters or grocery stores or coffee shops or whatever. And there was always just that kind of like voice in the back of my head, like this isn't what you're meant to do.
Mhm.
And what I meant to do is so much more. And so along with that, it just comes its own series of challenges. We were just constantly questioning like life and meaning. And so I found that I found my own answers to a lot of that, and so I like to share those with people online too, just kind of like what's going on in my own journey. Um, I'm I really love doing yoga and meditation in the mornings. Throughout my whole life, throughout my whole day, I do take time to kind of just reflect and be grateful and dive into gratitude. I've had so much mentors over the past like especially the past 4 years, that have like who've had kind of helped me along my way too. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So yeah, that's just kind of like whenever I share stuff online, I follow a few categories. One is like my sobriety path, yoga and meditation, the fun things I do in life too, like more of my personality, and then my art as well. So I kind of like follow. I try to share all of those kind of categories right there because I've been through a lot of stuff through my. I haven't had like too rough of a life, but I mean just like with um, with the alcoholism I've experienced, and with growing up without a father, and being in and out of a lot of failed relationships, making a lot of mistakes there, having a lot of guilt and remorse from there, living in poverty. Like it's just all just kind of like built made me who I am today. And I don't know. I think I do have a couple of things to say or do that would help others for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely can see. Um, I can see how you're enjoying life and following your intuition through your photos. Um,
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, it's social media is kind of like a kind of a crazy thing because not too many people post too much about their failures or kind of like the rough things. I try to post kind of like the hard things that going through my life. I like to be like old. I like to try to be vulnerable online. Those are definitely my best moments, but like I do have my challenges, and that's when I really lean on to like um, uh, my own spiritual community, or just lean into my own spiritual practices to kind of help me stay focused and not give up on my I'll give up on my dreams.
Now you said you use yoga and meditation. Do you find that that really helps you kind of hone in on that intuition and stuff to help guide you along your journey?
Yeah, so it helps me just bring me to a grounded state, to be able to kind of just focus and live with intention and not live towards reaction. I Without it, I definitely would be living more in like kind of like my shadow side of my personality. Um, Helps me just kind of like just kind of like um, take charge more of my ego, and kind of soothe that. I mean, there's no eradication to towards your shadow or towards your ego, but I think with the proper like spiritual like practices or proper like internal work, there's definitely like I I think there's it helps me just live more in my heart and make better decisions in my life. And I'm always with the amount with the I like to I not to get too like kind of like I don't know, like, but like I feel like though I do feel as though I do feel as though to this day I do live with a certain amount of guilt for the decisions I made in my life. And so just being able to just have those tools under my belt and things I can lean on to help me make the proper decisions, especially when when my purpose and my dream is so big for myself. I just don't want to mess that up. so so I'm like, okay, if I'm feeling like a certain amount of frustration or uneasiness, I'm just like, okay, I need to just ground myself, do some yoga, meditate, so that I don't make any decisions that that would deter me more from like where I want to go in my life with my art.
Yeah, I've definitely found those particular tools really to be helpful, even for myself. And I think it's one of those tools that everybody should have in their toolbox, no matter what walk of life you come from, right? But ultimately, so go back to your story about the coloring book. You're talking about doing a children's book. Sorry, where is that? Are you do you write much, or do you just typically focus on the art?
I used to write a lot.
Mhm.
Back when I was back when I started diving into theater, it really kind of expanded. And really started experimenting with like writing like small scripts here and there. It was mostly for my own personal projects, and I did a lot of poetry too during those years of working in theater. And so I do have experience in writing. So it's just it's just finding that like kind of like inspiration, or just like really finding that time to just really sit down, know the characters I'm drawing, and write something out. I'm not like a I just so that's kind of like mostly my experience, like small stories, script writing, poetry. So that's why like coloring books or children's books kind of call to me, because they're a lot more simplistic. They're easier to read, they're easier to write, um, and um, I feel as though it's part of my service work too. I don't have kids right now, so and then I had my own challenges growing up too, and so I feel as though if I can kind of incorporate like kind of like what I've learned now in my adult life, what I wish I learned when I was younger into my storytelling, I feel as though I might be able to help a couple kids out there, kind of like um, with things that I didn't really get growing up. So that's part of like kind of like that's kind of like the bigger why with that, kind of like the deeper meaning behind it. And being able to do that would be for sure awesome. And so like with it's it's a process for sure. And so I'm tackling a little by little right now. I'm just focusing more on the drawing and the pages, and how they're going to be laid out. And then um, I do have like kind of like a loose script written, and then I'll like figure out the story from there for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love your reasoning behind doing that, and the thought and the idea of what you didn't learn as a child and putting that in books. I think is unique and amazing. I don't think I've really seen anything particularly like that. Uh, but ultimately, um, so what? So when you're looking at your intuition, right, and being curious, what really allows you to follow your curiosity about something?
Um, it's that practice of like learning where I'm where where I'm living in the moment. Like, am I too much into my head, or am I in my heart? It takes a little bit of a practice to kind of like figure that out, and so that's where I usually go to. And when I feel as though like this is kind of like a heart based kind of like calling, then or I feel as though like yes, like I should do this. You know, it's kind of like a gut feeling. Those are typically the avenues I would go for sure. Like I wouldn't be out here um, in the southwest in Arizona. You know, I kind of like just driving around and camping out to next to a bunch of saguaros, and just if I was just living in my head too much, and it was just like, no, this doesn't make sense. Like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that? Like everything, like all the challenges that ever came up, we were always taken care of. Like like when we were wondering where money was gonna come from, oh, the next day like money came, and like or like little things like that, where it's just like, you know, it's definitely flying at the edge of your seat. Is
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a every time I think about this or talk about this, I kind of remember like a Tony Robbins quote where he says, um, "The quality of your life depends on the quality of the relationship you have with like uncertainty." And so, basically, what that means to me is just how much can you live with uncertainty? Like, do you have a good relationship with it? And there's always going to be like there has to be like kind of a balance too. Like a lot of people like to be really certain on what they're going to get. Like, and I was stuck in that kind of like rat race for a while. Like, oh, I need this certain check every week, and that just kind of like killed my soul, man. So now I'm like out here just trying to have fun, you know, and just trying to just chase my dreams. And I've been here before throughout my past as my past has brought me to a lot of interesting places. So it's familiar terrain, but it's definitely new terrain for me.
Definitely,
Oh,
I love the fact that you follow that intuition, and I know exactly what you're talking about being in that rat race and feeling dead, and so you're not really feeling fulfilled at that point. Um,
yeah, and like we're only here for so much longer. Might as well live a fulfilling life. I mean, I don't want to get caught up like working at like if I stayed living at the place I was before. I mean, I probably would have ended up like I don't know, getting a job somewhere, working like 50 plus hours a week, and just kind of like hating my life and just thinking about how much like I don't want to like die with my music inside of me. You know, that's like
yeah.
it's kind of like a Wayne Dyer thing he talks about. It's just like you don't want to die with the music inside of you. Other spiritual teachers I lean on to, like Trent Shelton, like I don't want to. Um, he says like he, he says a lot about how if you want to go to one of the richest places in the world, you go to a graveyard, and because that's where a lot of people hopes and dreams like die with them, and I just don't want to just have that. And I feel as though like I didn't utilize a lot of my time on this in this life as well as I should have, because I was just so fearful of a lot of things that I didn't need to be afraid about. And so doing the best I can to go after it, and hopefully my hopefully like what I'm doing inspire someone to make even like a small step towards that. I mean, they don't have to just go full full like full on like me and just like abandon uh, like 90% of their worldly possessions and just live on the road by the skin of their teeth and with a little bit of cash just to and chase their dreams. You know, like little things can you can do little things too, like setting aside that like 5 minutes a day to work onto your craft, which a lot of which right I've been there before, where 5 minutes a day seems like a huge thing. I don't know. This I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but
That's all right. No,
talking about this stuff just kind of just opens up a lot of thoughts for me. And so, but yeah, if I'm going steering too, if I'm ever
I
steering
know.
one way or the other, just reel me back in, because I do know that we have, I do know that you'd want to cover a lot, and so do I. And
Well, no, I mean you're truly inspiring. I mean, you even inspire me with a lot of stuff you do.
thanks, man. Yeah, yeah, for sure. You're inspiring me too.
And I got a couple of questions here to help close this out and provide some more insight, your opinion about I'm
Uh-huh.
kind of shooting from the hip, and I want to get your first reaction on these. I know you've already provided some great information, some um, just on your story alone. I mean, it's truly inspiring. But my first question I do have for you is, what is the biggest thing that holds people back from igniting change in their life?
Um, right now, through my own personal um, path of discovery, I've noticed that fear holds a lot of people back. Um, fear of failure, fear of rejection, even fear of like really making it, because you know, like it's like I think fear is like one of the biggest like killers of dreams, and
Mhm.
it can even be like small little fears too, just like any type of like fear that comes up, or self-doubt, just kind of like I think those are dream killers for sure. Like fear of judgment too, like, oh, if I draw this and I post it, like what are people going to think? Are they going to think it's crappy? Are they going to think this is all I'm capable of? What if some Marvel comic executive rolls by my Instagram and they see where I'm at right now? Are they just going to be like, okay, let's blacklist Antonio Zepeda forever? Like we're never going to go look back at him a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now? Like it's just all these like kind of like, you know, fear-based voices, that just either that come from you, or they come from other people, or they come from society. I think that's the biggest thing that stops people. It's just fear. And I've done a lot of work on myself to help um, become more aware of my fears so that they don't uh, rule me as much. A good book that I read based around that, and I had some coaching around it too, was Fearless Living by Rhonda Britton. She developed this whole fearless living community, and she trains coaches. And one of her coaches helped guide me through that book. And I mean, luckily for me too, my girlfriend, she's her certified fearless living coach too. So that helps me a lot, which is like kind of like tackling my fear. So
Oh wow.
so fear's a big thing for sure that stops people.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that book. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. That's for sure. I know fear has always been something big, and I've greatness is always on the other side of fear, right? And just getting over that fear,
Yeah, for sure.
and going with your intuition. So the next question I have is, what is the worst advice you've ever been given?
Um, hmm. The worst advice I've ever been given. Trying to nail it down. I think I've been giving a lot of bad advice.
Well, what is the one thing that really like stopped you in your tracks, like to not do it, and then you kind of felt like, well, I wish I would have really done it because I would have made progress in this, or changed something in my life that would have made big changes.
I
Yeah.
think, all right. Okay. So with all that, I think probably the worst thing I've ever heard or stopped me was probably like kind of like what are the odds of something happening? Like just that I've heard it from other people before, or I've heard it from myself. Just like, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds that you're gonna be able to like kind of like, really live the life you want? It's just people like to think like oh like it's a one in a million chance that you'll be like a successful artist, a musician, or whatever, or that there's only like you're never gonna be able to get a community. But it's just like there are like, well, I don't know how much of the population of Earth is right now. I think it's in the trillions now. But like, there's
Yeah.
so many people on the planet. There's so much people in the United States. There's so many opportunities for people, even especially now. It's just like it's just like kind of like small thinking when people say, "What are the odds?" It's the odds are actually pretty good if you just put in the work, if you just show up consistently, and if you keep just like working like towards what you want to do. It's the opportunities are out there. You just really have to kind of like make them for yourself. It's like for me, for example, like what are the odds of me like landing a job at Marvel Comics? Like I can just live in that, living in that, like, or but like they're actually pretty good if I just keep working at it. I mean, especially, or like, like what are the odds of like both of us being big influences? They're actually pretty good if we just keep working at it. I mean, the world is so abundant. Like like literally all we need is just like 10,000, 100,000 people like behind us, and our lives will totally change. And that's just like kind of like a drop in the river with the amount of people that are on this planet. And so like I think that's probably like the worst advice, or like the thing that has stopped me is just like when people go like, oh, what are the odds of that happening? Like they're pretty fucking good. You just need to change your mindset.
Yeah, no kidding. And if you ever do make Marvel Comics, that'd be awesome to know you, to be able to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome. I love that dream. Again, that was something I've always wanted to do when I was young too. So to see someone actually pursuing that part of it is amazing, man. I truly find that inspiring.
Thank you.
What is the one thing you want people to take away from this interview?
That whatever, I guess, whatever your your heart's calling you, or whatever you thought you wanted to do as a child, and you're just like not satisfied with the direction your life is going, you can always make a change. You can always just make that change, shift gears, and chase your dream. It's never too late to follow your heart. It's never too late to, like, you know, create art. The opportunity is always there for you. You're never going to be too old. You're never going to be too this or too that. I mean, it's always going to be there for you. You just make the small steps towards it, and just keep working. I mean, there's going to be ups and downs, and you have to learn how to navigate those downs, for sure, because they can stop you in your tracks for years, or maybe even decades. And I mean, I've known throughout my life, I've let doubts stop me for years and years and years and years. And I just really don't want that to happen anymore. So it's just, so I think for anyone who's listening, and that's kind of like where I'm trying to, like, share my life with, is just trying to, like, help people, like, you know, just who have that nudge in their heart that, you know, like they can do it. And no matter how difficult it is, they can still do it.
Well, that is a great way to close out the show. I tell you that for sure. I want to thank you again, Antonio, for coming on the show and for talking, sharing your story, giving a lot of people, I think, some great information, some great inspiration to go out and start making changes in their lives. How can people get a hold of you if they want to follow you?
So email is probably the best one right now, because that's not, it's going to be my name, Antonio Zepeda art @gmail.com. My Instagram is at tonio.lets.go. And same with my TikTok, and then Facebook, my name, Antonio Zepeda. And then I also have a Facebook page, Antonio Zepeda Art. So anybody really wants to directly contact me, probably the best thing is Antonio Zepeda Art, or my website too, antoniozepeda.com. Probably another great way to contact me, because that's not going to change for a while. So yeah, antoniozepeda.com is actually probably the best one. But yeah, those are all the avenues that people can reach me at.
Fantastic. And I'll actually leave all that information in the description below so you guys can get a hold of Antonio. And again, Antonio, thank you so much for coming on the channel. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Until next time, everybody, we'll catch you later.
Catch you later.